ex-husband let his mistress drag me down the stairs by my hair. Now I'm their landlord. She wasn't just betrayed. She was humiliated. Dragged down the stairs by her hair, her dignity, shattered with every step, while the man who promised to love her stood by and did nothing. In that moment, she thought her life was over, her worth reduced to ashes. But fate was not done with. Her story and what came next, no one could have imagined. What do you think became of the woman they tried to destroy? Sit back and journey with us into this heartbreaking story of cruelty, betrayal, and the twist that turned her pain into power. Hello family, welcome back. Please do well to subscribe and let's know where you are watching the story from in the comment section. Emma used to believe in fairy tales. On her wedding day, when she walked down the aisle in lace and trembling joy, she thought she had found her forever. David was charming, attentive, the kind of man who pulled out her chair and whispered, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." She remembered the applause, the clinking of glasses, the way people said they were perfect together. For a while, it even felt true. Their first year was filled with late-night laughter, road trips with the windows down, and promises whispered in the dark. But fairy tales, Emma learned, do not last forever. The change came quietly, the way winter creeps into fall. At first, David stopped coming home on time. Then he stopped listening. He'd scroll through his phone while she talked, nodding at the wrong moments. When she pressed him, he snapped. "Why are you always on my back?" he said one night, tossing his jacket onto the couch. "Can't you let me breathe?" Emma's heart sank. "I just asked how your day was." "Yeah, and you ask it like you're looking for something. It's exhausting." She bit her lip, swallowing the ache. "I'm your wife, David. Talking to me shouldn't feel like a chore." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "God, Emma, you're so dramatic." The word dramatic became his favorite dagger. He used it when she asked why he was late, when she asked about strange perfume on his shirts, when she reached for him at night and he rolled away. "Stop being dramatic," he'd mutter, turning his back. Emma tried harder. She dressed up for dinner one evening, wearing a new blouse in soft blue. "Do you like it?" she asked, smiling nervously. David barely glanced at her. "It's fine, but Rebecca wears colors that really flatter her figure." Emma froze. "Rebecca? Who's Rebecca?" He looked up, annoyed. "Don't twist my words. She's just a colleague." Her chest tightened. "You compare me to a colleague? You're making a scene again," he said coldly, returning to his food. That night Emma cried quietly into her pillow, praying she was wrong. But deep down she knew. Rebecca was not just a colleague. The proof came weeks later. A lipstick stain on his collar. A late-night message glowing across his phone. "Can't wait to see you. R." And finally, the photo, a stranger's post online of David at a restaurant, leaning close to a woman with glossy black hair. The caption, "Ran into David and Rebecca tonight. Cutest couple." Emma's hands shook as she printed the picture. When David came home, she slid it across the table. "Who is she?" David didn't flinch. He looked at the photo, then at her. "So you found out?" Her voice cracked. "That's all you have to say?" He leaned back, calm. "Emma, we haven't been good for a long time. Rebecca makes me feel alive. She doesn't drag me down like you do." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Drag you down? I stood by you through everything. Through every failure, every setback. I believed in you." His smile was cold. "Maybe you shouldn't have." She whispered, "Do you even love her?" "I don't know," he said with a shrug. "I love how I feel when I'm with her." "Isn't that enough?" Emma's heart shattered. But the deepest humiliation hadn't yet come. It arrived the night Rebecca showed up at Emma's front door. Emma opened it to see her standing there in a cream sweater, smirking. "Emma," Rebecca said, smoothly, "I thought it was time we met." Emma's stomach churned. "You shouldn't be here." Rebecca stepped inside without waiting. "Why not?" "David's practically living two lives already." He told me you're fragile, that you cry at the smallest things, that you hold him back. Emma clenched her fists. And you believed him? Rebecca's smile sharpened. Of course. Look at you. No wonder he wanted more. I make him happy. You just weigh him down. Emma's voice trembled, but she forced herself to speak. You're nothing but a replacement. And one day he'll replace you too. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. He says I'm everything you're not. Beautiful, exciting, worth his time. Emma's face burned. Get out of my house. Rebecca tilted her head. Make me. Before Emma could react, Rebecca lunged. She grabbed Emma's hair, yanking so hard that Emma screamed. Let go. Emma cried. Rebecca sneered. Not until you understand. He's mine. Emma stumbled as Rebecca dragged her toward the stairs. Her scalp burned, tears streaming down. Her face. David! She screamed. Help me! And then she saw him. David, standing at the top of the stairs, one hand resting lazily on the banister. David! Emma sobbed. She's hurting me. But his face was cold. Emma, stop being dramatic. Rebecca laughed, pulling harder. See? He doesn't want you. He's choosing me. Emma's body slammed against the steps, pain shooting through her ribs. David, she begged. But he didn't move. He didn't shout. He just stood there, silent, as his wife was humiliated in her own home. A neighbor's fist banged against the wall. Is everything okay in there? Rebecca finally let go, panting, smug. Now it's fine, she said, smoothing her hair. Emma sat on the stairs, trembling. She looked up at David, her voice barely a whisper. You let her do this. You watched. His expression didn't change. If you hadn't provoked her, she wouldn't have snapped. Emma stared at him in disbelief. Provoked her? By existing in my own home. Rebecca smirked from the bottom of the stairs. Face it, Emma. You're pathetic. You should leave. Emma rose slowly, gripping the railing for strength. Her dignity was torn to shreds, but her voice was steady. I will leave, but one day you'll regret this. David scoffed. You'll come crawling back. You can't make it without me. Rebecca added with a laugh. Weak women always crawl back. Emma looked them both in the eye. I won't crawl back, and when you see me again, you'll wish you had never laid a hand on me. She walked to the bedroom, packed a suitcase, and left without another word. Outside, she sat in her car, hands shaking as she called her best friend. Grace, I'm leaving. Grace's voice was firm. Good. Come here. You'll be safe. We'll build you back up. Emma started the engine, tears running down her face. The road ahead was uncertain, but in her chest something hardened into steel. They thought they had destroyed her. But one day, Emma promised herself she would return, stronger. And when she did, David and Rebecca would learn that betrayal has a price. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give a future to children and women who have been abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Also, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from, and how did this story speak to you? Emma woke up on Grace's couch with a stiff neck and eyes swollen from crying. The suitcase she'd packed in a storm of tears sat by her feet like a reminder. For a moment she lay still, staring at the ceiling. Her head still throbbed where Rebecca had yanked her hair. Her body ached from the stairs, but inside something had changed. She whispered to herself, they didn't break me. I'm still here. Grace walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. You look better, she said gently. Emma sat up, brushing her tangled hair back. Better? I look like I lost a fight. Grace set the mug in her hands. You didn't lose. You walked out. That makes you stronger than both of them. Emma held the cup, the warmth seeping into her fingers. I don't even know where to start. I have nothing, Grace. No house, no husband, no plan. You have you, Grace said firmly. That's enough. And you have me. We'll figure it out. Emma swallowed hard, nodding. Then let's figure it out. The first months were brutal. Emma worked wherever she could, waiting tables in the mornings, cleaning offices at night, babysitting on weekends. She came home with sore feet, calloused hands, and a paycheck that barely covered groceries. Sometimes she'd collapse on Grace's couch, whispering, "I can't do this anymore." Grace would fold her arms and say, "Yes, you can. One day you'll thank yourself for not quitting." Emma pushed on. She saved every penny. No dinners out. No new clothes. Every extra dollar went into a jar she labeled freedom. She would stare at it some nights and whisper, "You're my ticket. Out." Years passed. Slowly, the jar became a bank account. The bank account became savings. The savings became seed money for something bigger. It started small. A catering side hustle Emma ran from Grace's tiny kitchen. She cooked simple meals, delivered them herself, and handed out flyers. The first client was a neighbor who said, "You're good at this, Emma. You should charge more." The second client told 3 more people. By the end of the year, Emma had enough orders to rent a tiny storefront kitchen. One day, when she delivered an order, a client shook her hand and said, "You're reliable, Emma. I trust you." The words stayed with her. Trust. That was something David had never given her. But here she was, earning it from strangers. Her business grew. What began with meals turned into full catering for offices, then weddings, then big events. Emma hired staff. She opened a proper office. She walked into her own building one morning, keys in her hand, and whispered, "This is mine." Meanwhile, whispers about David and Rebecca reached her ears. A former neighbor bumped into Emma at the grocery store and leaned in. "You didn't hear this from me, but David and Rebecca aren't doing so well." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Oh," the neighbor chuckled. "Debt, constant fighting. That big house they mocked you from? Falling apart. Roof leaks, mortgage overdue. Looks like karma came knocking." Emma smiled faintly. She didn't gloat out loud, but inside, a small fire of satisfaction burned. More whispers followed. Rebecca had quit her job, expecting David to provide the grand life she wanted. David, drowning in bills, had turned bitter. Their fights echoed through the walls. Once, Rebecca had been seen storming out with her hair a mess, screaming, "You promised me more than this." Emma listened and thought, "He promised me too," and broke every word. By now, Emma had more than survival. She had stability. She had success. She had money flowing. Grace teased her one evening over dinner. "You've turned into a shark, Emma," she said with a grin. Emma laughed. "A tired shark. But yes, a shark who owns a business." Grace raised her glass. "To the woman who rose from nothing." Emma clinked her glass against hers. "To never being dragged down again." But inside, Emma felt something deeper. Rising wasn't enough. She wanted justice, not the kind that screamed or fought, but the kind that cut clean. So she started investing. Small properties first. Tiny apartments, fixer-uppers, places people overlooked. She learned fast, rented them out, and watched her income grow. Real estate became her quiet weapon. Each key she collected felt like reclaiming a piece of her dignity. She kept every lease filed neatly, every payment documented. She ran her business the way David had never run his life, with discipline and vision. Then one morning, an agent called her. "Emma, there's a property on the market you might be interested in. It's old, but with your skills, you could flip it or rent it." Emma asked, "What property?" The agent read off the address. Emma froze. It was their house. The house where David had called her pathetic. Where Rebecca had dragged her by the hair. Where her humiliation had echoed down the staircase while her husband stood still. She pressed the phone tighter to her ear. "I'll take it." The agent chuckled. "You don't even want to see it first?" Emma's voice was steady. "I've seen it enough." When she signed the papers, the The pen felt like a sword in her hand. She walked out of the office, with the deed clutched tight, and whispered, "It's mine now." That night she stood outside the house in her car, staring at the windows that had once held her. Tears, lights flickered inside. She knew who was still living there, David and Rebecca, clinging to a life that was crumbling. She rolled the window down and breathed in the night air. Her heart pounded, but not from fear, from triumph. The house was no longer a place of humiliation. It was hers. Every stair, every wall, every inch of wood that had once witnessed her pain now belonged to her. She whispered into the dark, "You thought you destroyed me, but look at me now. I own the ground beneath your feet." And for the first time since that terrible night, Emma felt whole again. The house didn't feel like theirs anymore. Not with the notices stacked on the kitchen counter. Not with the rent due every month. Not with the silence between them growing thicker by the day. Rebecca stood in the living room, her arms crossed, her voice sharp. "I can't believe we're renters." "Renters, David. In the same house we used to own." David rubbed his forehead, his jaw tight. "Do you think I don't know that? You promised me a better life," Rebecca snapped. "You said leaving her would make things better. You said we'd be happier, richer. And now, we're broke, fighting off debt collectors, living like tenants in our own house." David slammed his hand on the table. "Don't put this all on me. You were the one demanding vacations we couldn't afford, designer bags, dinners at restaurants that cost more than the mortgage. You burned through money like it grew on trees." Rebecca's face flushed. "Don't you dare blame me. I only wanted the life you promised. You said you'd give me everything." David laughed bitterly. "Everything? I gave you what I had, and it was never enough. You wanted more, always more. That's why we're here." Rebecca's voice rose. "No, David. We're here because you're weak. You couldn't even keep your job steady. You couldn't manage the house. And now we're under some stranger's thumb, paying rent like beggars." David shot back, his words like knives. "At least I didn't drag another woman down the stairs to prove a point. Do you know how people still talk about that? How they whisper when they see us at the store? You humiliated me." Rebecca's eyes narrowed. "Don't turn this around. You stood there and let me do it. Don't act innocent now." David's voice cracked with fury. "You think I don't remember? I see it every night. Her face, the way she screamed for help. And I did nothing. Because of you, Rebecca. Because of you, I let her walk out. And maybe that was the biggest mistake of my life." Rebecca slapped the table, her nails clicking against the wood. "Don't you dare say that. She was weak. She would have dragged you down. I was supposed to make you great." David stared at her, his chest heaving. "Look around, Rebecca. Does this look like greatness to you? We lost everything. We lost this house. And now we pay rent like children renting from their parents." Rebecca hissed. "Better than living with her." David leaned in, his voice low, raw. "Was it?" For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. The walls, once filled with laughter and parties, now echoed with bitterness and blame. Then came the knock. Sharp, firm, final. Rebecca rolled her eyes. "Finally. Must be the landlord. Probably here to nag about the rent again." David muttered, "I'll deal with him." He straightened his shirt, walked to the door, and pulled it open. His face drained of color. Emma stood there, calm, steady, holding a folder of papers in her hands. She smiled faintly, her eyes never leaving his. "Hello, David," she said softly. Then her gaze shifted past him. "Hello, Rebecca." Rebecca's footsteps froze mid-step. She turned the corner, saw Emma, and nearly dropped the glass she was holding. "You know." "No, this isn't." Emma stepped inside, her heels clicking against the wood, every sound a reminder of the night. She'd been dragged across it. She placed the folder on the table right where their argument had been raging minutes before. "It's not impossible, Rebecca. It's real. I'm your landlord now." David's lips parted. You bought the house? Emma's voice was calm, razor sharp. The bank sold it. I bought it. Which means every month. You pay me. Rebecca's face twisted in fury. You're lying. This is some kind of trick. Emma slid the signed lease across the table. Not a trick. Your names. My name. Every dollar you give for this roof goes through me. David stared at the papers, his hand shaking as he traced his signature. His throat tightened. This can't be happening. Emma tilted her head. Oh, but it is. You once mocked me in this house. You let Rebecca drag me down these stairs. You watched while I walked out with nothing. And now you live here only because I allow it. Rebecca slammed her fist on the table. We'll move. We don't need you. Emma leaned closer, her voice quiet, cutting through the room like glass. Go ahead. Move. Find another place. But you won't. Not with your debts. Not with your history. No one else will take. You're stuck, Rebecca. Stuck under my roof. Rebecca's bravado cracked. Her voice wavered. This isn't fair. Emma laughed softly. Fair? Was it fair when you humiliated me? When David stood there, silent, while you dragged me down? Fair isn't the point. Justice is. David's voice broke, thick with shame. So what now? You punish us? Emma smiled faintly. I don't need to punish you. You've already punished yourselves. Every month when you hand me a check, you'll remember. That's enough. She gathered the papers, tucked them neatly into her folder, and walked toward the door. Just before leaving, she looked back. Welcome to your new life. Don't be late with the rent. The door clicked shut, and silence crashed over the room. Rebecca's face turned red, her voice trembling with rage. This is your fault, David. All of it. You lost the house, you lost control, and now you've given her the satisfaction of owning us. David slammed his fist against the wall. My fault? You think I don't hate this? Every time she knocks, I feel like less of a man. And you were supposed to make it better. Instead, you dragged us deeper. Rebecca screamed back. At least I fought for you. At least I did something. What did you do? You watched her leave, and now she's back to haunt us. David's shoulders sagged, his voice low. She's not haunting us, Rebecca. She's owning us. Their shouting carried through the halls, rattling the same staircase where Emma had once cried for help. Now those same walls bore witness to their downfall, their marriage rotting under the weight of rent they owed to the woman they had once tried to destroy. Emma didn't need to yell. She didn't need revenge in words. The house itself was her weapon. Every creak of the stairs, every crack in the wall whispered the truth. She owned them now. The notice sat in the middle of the kitchen table like a curse. Rent was due and they didn't have. Rebecca's fingers drummed against the paper, her voice sharp as glass. We're late again. She'll be here any minute. David sat slumped in his chair, eyes hollow. What do you want me to do? I've already borrowed. From everyone I know. I've maxed out every card. There's nothing left. Rebecca's face twisted. You're useless. Absolutely useless. You promised me we'd never live like this. David's voice cracked as he snapped back. And what about you? You think you're constant. Spending helped? You wanted more clothes, more dinners, more everything. You helped bury us. Rebecca shoved the notice toward him. Don't you dare blame me. You let her walk away. You gave her this power. David's head shot up, eyes blazing. Don't twist it, Rebecca. You're the one who dragged her down those stairs. You're the one who made me watch. And now look at us. She owns this house. She owns us. Rebecca's lip trembled, but she covered it with rage. She doesn't own me. David laughed bitterly. Doesn't she? Every month you hand her a check. Every month you bow your head. Their shouting filled the house, rattling the walls like ghosts of their past. Then came the knock. Firm. Final. Rebecca froze, her eyes wide. It's her. David dragged himself to the door and opened it. There she was. Emma. Her expression was calm, her presence commanding. She held her folder neatly under one arm, but her eyes burned steady. "Good evening," she said smoothly. "It's the 1st. Rent is due." Rebecca's voice shook as she snapped. We don't have it yet. We just need more time." Emma stepped inside, her heels echoing against the wood that had once carried her humiliation. She looked at them both, steady and unflinching. "Time. I gave you years. You wasted them. Now, time has run out." David stood, his voice low, desperate. "Emma, please. We'll find a way. Just give us another month." Emma's head tilted slightly. "Another month? Did either of you give me mercy when you dragged me down these stairs? Did you give me time when you laughed while I walked out with nothing? No, you gave me pain. And now, I'm giving you truth." Rebecca's voice cracked as she shouted, "You can't do this. You're not throwing us out." Emma placed the folder on the table, sliding the eviction notice across. "I already did. You had your chances. You chose arrogance instead of humility. Now you leave." David's knees buckled. He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "We have nowhere to go." Emma's voice didn't waver. "That's not my problem. I built my life back from nothing. So can you. Or maybe you can't. Either way, you don't live here anymore." Rebecca slammed her hand on the table, her body trembling. "This is revenge. Admit it." Emma leaned forward, her eyes piercing. "No, Rebecca. This is justice. Every lie, every insult, every bruise led to this moment. The house you once mocked me from will never be yours again." Rebecca's voice broke into a sob. "Please, please don't do this. I can't live like this. I can't live out there." Emma's lips curled into the faintest smile. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before. Dragging me by my hair and calling me weak. Weak women don't become landlords, Rebecca. Weak women don't collect rent from the ones who betrayed them. Weak women don't evict their abusers." David finally looked up, his face streaked with tears. "Emma, I'm sorry." For a moment the words hung in the air, but Emma's eyes stayed cold. "Sorry doesn't change the past. Sorry doesn't pay the rent. Pack your things. You're done here." Rebecca collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "No, no. This can't be happening." Emma gathered her folder, straightened, and walked toward the door. She paused, her voice calm and final. "The house remembers what you did, and now it remembers this. Leave the keys on the counter. You're out." She opened the door, stepped outside, and closed it firmly behind her. Inside, silence crushed the room. Rebecca wept, rocking in her chair. David sat hollow, staring at the walls that once belonged to him. The walls now belonged to Emma. Within days, they were gone. Neighbors whispered as Rebecca and David carried their boxes out, their faces pale, their pride shattered. Some shook their heads. Others said quietly, "That's what happens when you build your life on betrayal." And Emma? She stood at the window watching them leave. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply breathed. The house was hers now, truly hers. No debts, no shadows, no ghosts. Just hers. The lesson was written in every brick and every step. Betrayal may win for a night, but truth owns the morning. David and Rebecca thought they destroyed her. But in the end, it was Emma who destroyed them without lifting a hand, only with patience and justice. And for the rest of their lives, they would remember the day they were dragged out of the house they once mocked her from, evicted by the very woman they tried to erase.